Hi, everybody. I'm Chris Holman, and welcome to the Michigan Business Network and our China channel. We have a very important person here today, the guy in charge of all tourism in mid-Michigan. He's the executive director of the Greater Lansing Convention and Visitors Bureau, and his name is Jack Schripsema. Jack, thanks so much for coming down. We appreciate that.
You're welcome. Glad to be here.
Listen, a little career pathing here. Tell me a little bit about yourself and how you got to where you are.
Well, I'll try and give you the Reader's Digest version. I grew up in West Michigan, a little town called Holland, and went to school at Michigan State, studied at Michigan State because I wanted to pursue a career in the hospitality industry, and they had a great hotel school. So I went to Michigan State. Fortunately, I was accepted, and graduated from there and went to work right away for West International Hotels. And my first job was in Beverly Hills at the Century Plaza Hotel. After a few years there, they transferred me to New York, where the company had just bought the Plaza Hotel on Fifth Avenue, and worked at the Plaza Hotel for a number of years in some management positions. And then I was transferred to Detroit when they had this new development called the Renaissance Center was under construction, and our hotel was going to manage the hotel as part of that, at that time, Ford headquarters. And I was transferred there, worked at the Detroit Westin for a number of years, and then after that I was contacted to come back to Grand Rapids, Michigan to be part of another redevelopment, an old Panlin Hotel that had been purchased by the Amway Corporation, and Amway converted that and reopened it as the Amway Grand, and I was part of that opening team. So I've been very fortunate, spent years in Grand Rapids, 25 years, Traverse City is in the Convention and Visitor Bureau world, and Flint, and now Lansing. So that's the Reader's Digest
You
version.
finally found your way to the pinnacle.
Right, I guess, or I can't keep a job. I'm not sure.
We all feel that way every
right.
now and then. So I'm gonna move this interview over to Tong,
Okay.
who's gonna take it over from here.
Great.
Hi, Jack. Really nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
My honor. And please make me have an introduction about myself. This is Tong from People to Work. People to Work is a partner for the Michigan Business Network in China. And People to Work is actually a bridge between China and US. We're trying to make a bridge for the American and Chinese students to each other countries, and then make them to studying and communicating. So this is basically the background knowledge for our WeChat platform. And so here is my first question for you. It's we start from a very easy one. So have you been in China before?
I have not, no.
So
It's on my bucket list.
It's a bucket list.
There
Cool.
you go.
So really hope you have the plan for go there in the future, and I'll be really happy to be your guide if you want to get there. And also Chris can be the company also. He has a very
Have you been to China before?
Well, unfortunately I have.
Okay.
Sorry about that.
Then he can show you around.
All right.
Cool. So let's forget about that question. And then can you tell us about more of your educational background and how is that affects your career transforming?
Well, when I went to MSU, I made a point, and I was encouraged by my faculty advisors and instructors to get engaged in what would be my career. In other words, internships and part-time jobs. So you name it, I've probably done it over the years, from washing dishes to bussing tables to working a front desk and all the other things that you might imagine, kind of the entry level for the hospitality industry. And I did internships in the summer, places like Disneyland Hotel in Anaheim, California, long before Disney World came along. And those were door openers. So when I was ready to graduate, I interviewed with international hotel companies, which is the career I wanted to pursue. I got the interviews, and fortunately I had several offers when I graduated, and I got to pick which of those I wanted to go with. So I think it's important to get the experience and build your resume through part-time jobs and internships.
It's really great, the suggestions, Jack. So as a incoming Chinese students, so if they want to pursue their educational journey in U.S., so what would your advice for them to picking up all these universities?
Right. Well, I imagine most of the students think of certain cities within the U.S.
Sure.
But I would encourage them to look at second and third tier cities like Lansing, Michigan, that have world-class community colleges as kind of a door to come through, because often they're not going to be able to get accepted right away at a Michigan State University or a University of Michigan and so on. And I think a great path is to come to the U.S. through a smaller community that's an authentic American experience, and I think that's important for them as well. And to go to one of those great colleges like Lansing Community College and study there for a year or two, and that kind of gets them on a path to perhaps get accepted at one of the larger universities, either here in Michigan or throughout the country.
Oh, that's a really new idea that probably most of the Chinese students won't think about that way. But also, so for your experience, like when the admission from the university or college, when they are sorting this kind of candidates from China, what would you think will be the most important value or the characteristic that brings from the students that they want from?
Right. Definitely their grades, their portfolio. I think some of the experience they've had in their country. I think their willingness to adapt to our culture and learn our culture. I think that's important. And again, I think a real authentic American experience is probably best earned by coming to a second or third tier city like a Lansing and branching out from there. Because we have students here at MSU or at Lansing Community College, and they do trips to northern Michigan or to Chicago or to New York or to Orlando. They kind of go from there, but they really learn about the American experience here in the smaller communities. Mm-hmm. And then they can make decisions, kind of get acclimated to the culture, and then branch out from there.
Oh, thanks, Jack. I really appreciate you mentioned about the experience and internship, these keywords. So the more thing I want to ask is about, it's kind of hard for the Chinese students to get the chance, the working experience here. So what would you say for them? How can they get the internship, or how can they get the opportunities from, from the bare hand?
Well, actually, I think they have an advantage in communities like ours, because I think there's a demand for us on this side of the ocean that need to learn about the Chinese culture. Mm-hmm. And the international commerce that's going on and the relationship between the countries. I think internships and having Chinese workers help us learn. As a tourism director, how do we engage? How do we create demand from China? We think our region would be a great location for folks to come and visit. And so I think the more we learn about the Chinese culture as well, I think it's a two-way street. I think it helps us do our jobs better as well.
Oh, so I think that's the last question for me is, so what would you say the reference process, like playing a role in the, the job recruiting and
sure.
For the...
Yeah, I think, I guess my advice would be, as a new student coming to the country, is they first get acclimated to their surroundings, and then work with their advisors and professors and make connections in the community, get involved in the community to make connections with business people and organizations, because I think those connections are what will lead to those opportunities, those internships, which I think, again, is kind of that first step in building a long-term career. So I think they've got to work, not stay within their own group of people, but to branch out and really absorb the local flavor, culture, and make connections locally. And I think that will lead to internships. And I know our organization, for example, we have 2 interns right now, generally 1 to 2 throughout the year. And I know companies all over the region do the same thing. So the opportunities are there. And we would love, our organization, I think it's true of many, would love nothing better than to have interns from China, because we know that's the demand, or the possible demand, is there, and somehow we got to cultivate that as well.
Absolutely right. We appreciate the relationship. We appreciate your time, Jack.
You're welcome. My pleasure.
Down. Of course, the head tourist guy here in mid-Michigan, CEO of the Greater Lansing Convention Visitors Bureau, and Tong, very nice job. Thank you for taking this on as well.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming down, Jack. Appreciate it.
Thanks.
Thank you, Jack. Appreciate it.
All right. You've been listening on the Michigan Business Network to the China Channel. We're so glad you could join us, and we welcome you here.